initially was?
No, when we actually started, I was in the student lending industry, and my business partner and I, we were talking, and we got along extremely well, and we launched in 2009, and we were talking about marketing. So our focus was, hey, we marketed brands for other major Fortune 500 companies, and we talked a lot about those opportunities, and we said, hey, maybe we can help the small businesses to come in and actually start marketing what they do. And things shifted in 2012. I mean, 2012 was probably the worst year of my life because everything that I touch turns to gold. And I remember waking up in the morning from bed, going to the actual sofa and just waiting and saying, nothing's happening. And one day I said, I'm done. This is not who I am. This does not define me. And I started doing a training. I actually did training for American Airlines. I did training for their dangerous goods. And I realized how it's easy for me to actually retain information and then simplify it for other people. And then from there, we just evolved into, I actually started working with SCORE, got a contract with SCORE, and started developing their curriculum, their programs. And I think that that's where we initially met. But I sat back and realized, what do small businesses do? Overthink. What do small businesses need? Simplification. So my thing is more coming in and just simplifying the process so that small businesses don't overthink. But guess what?
Hey, how are y'all today? How many of you remember that gentleman and the wonderful morsels of information that he shared with us? That is Orlando Espinosa from Emineo Media. And he is back after 3 years with even more information. And I hope you will tune in. Hey, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It took me 3 years to grow the beard.
Look, it looks good. It looks good. I like it. It does look good. The hair is still the same, but everything else a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different. Listen, we survived, 3 years, and it's great to be back here and to share with your audience, Stephanie. You know that it's always a pleasure when we get together.
Thank you so much. And just in true transparency, actually, Orlando is one of my mentors. And whenever I feel like I need to have a conversation about the pivot plan, he's usually one of the people that I go. So I thought it'd be a good idea to bring him back again so he can give us a little bit more clarity, especially having gone through the pandemic as to how we can now move and stretch and grow as business owners. Remind us again who you are.
Orlando Espinosa, Emineo Media. We design, develop, and implement outreach programs for government agencies, municipalities, and not-for-profits to help them effectively market their brand. And one of the things that I always pride myself in saying, that I am a simplifier of information. Why do I say that? Because a lot of people tend to overthink and overcomplicate, and life is not that complicated. We complicate our lives when we try to force other people to bend their wills to appease our own insecurities. So if you sit back and you just give people resources and information and simplify it for them, you're actually creating a following of people that are willing to work with you. And that's why I love entrepreneurs, because I think that it's ideal, especially for those of us that what we're doing is just, creating opportunity. So I love entrepreneurship, and I'm glad to be back here with you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Now, I'm going to throw up a little item that I think everyone should know to start the conversation. For those of you who don't know, Orlando has been selected as the 2023 South Florida District State of Florida Small Business Advocate of the Year. Congratulations, and I believe very well deserved.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And it's funny because this is the third time that we won. We won in 2016, 2018, and then we submitted, got a great recommendation. I've had a lot of people in the past that they want to recommend me, but knowing how I operate, I always love other people to be recognized. I think one of the good things about leadership is that a good leader is willing to share the spotlight. An excellent leader is willing to give it up, and it can't be all about us. It has to be about other people. And that's why a lot of the business owners that I work with, we get along great, because I definitely want them to succeed. So having this bestowed on me, I'm extremely humbled because I know that they had some great candidates that were actually submitted. But all in all, it's going to be an amazing year. This year, so every year I always pick a word. This year in January, my word was celebration, because this is going to be a year of celebration. This is going to be a year of getting other people to celebrate their successes, because we're in it for the long haul. And as you know, being recognized as the SBA Advocate of the Year, not only for the South District, but for the entire state of Florida, it's going to be a great adventure, because we're going to be doing some amazing things in 2023.
So it's interesting you say that, because not necessarily a word, it's either a verb or an action phrase I select every year. That's kind of my motivator for the year. So I think that's very interesting that you should say that. But let's go back to your Advocate of the Year for the full state of Florida. I'm going to ask you to promote yourself a little bit. Why do you think you were selected as the Advocate of the Year?
Really simple. As a business owner, I think like a business owner. I process things as a business owner, and I believe in real impact, where there's a lot of business owners that they need someone to sympathize with them. I sit back and I realize that I've heard people celebrate. I've heard people cry. I've heard people get emotional. I heard a lot of business owners that they just needed help. And I think that that's one of the key things that I look at as being someone that's an advocate is, you know what, it's not self-serving. You can never come in and do it for yourself, and to come in and say, oh, look, I am this award and I want it. Because there's a lot of people out there that they love to talk about themselves. And there's a lot of people out there that they want all the recognition for themselves, and they never come in and celebrate other people. And I think that the business owners that I work with and the people that I've actually helped, and I do it, you know what, happily. I think that that's one of the lessons that I learned. So when I had SCORE as a client, and we were actually putting together workshops, and you were involved in a lot of that, Stephanie, and I know that I got you to do the grassroots marketing presentation as well. But one thing that I noticed was that a lot of people come in, a lot of speakers come in, and the first thing that they do is that they're not building relationships to empower the business owners. They're coming in and they are actually trying to sell their services. The first thing out of their mouth is, I could give you more information, but it'll cost you. Or then they tie everything right now to where, hey, you got a grant. But aside from this grant, now I'm going to come in and add more money to that, because I have to make a profit. So one of the key things that I realized that with the organizations that I've worked with, it wasn't my job to come in and look at these at the business owners as an actual client. They weren't a dollar sign. They were actual business owners that were struggling because they didn't have the right information or the necessary information. And that's why I realized that I needed to come in and be an advocate. We have a lot of people that come in from different countries. And when they come here, there's someone there that's taking advantage of them because they don't know how to do business here in the States. They were professional in their country, or even coming in from other states and coming to South Florida. You have to know how to navigate South Florida, because South Florida can come in and become extremely political, you know, when it comes to the things that are done. So I sat back and I realized that if I was really going to have an impact on the lives of other people, that I needed to remove myself and not consider myself the hero, that I wasn't going to come in and save anybody. The heroes are the business owners that are coming in and providing food for their family, that they're paying for their kids' education, that they're coming in and paying, you know what, for their household. Those are the real heroes. It's not me. And I think that once I took on that mantle, I realized that in order to have any type of movement was to definitely empower other people so that they would succeed.
So let me ask this question. So you and I have had this conversation about training programs, different workshops out there. You know, kind of my thought is not one size fits all. It's not perfect for everyone. Do you think the fact that you have been an entrepreneur is what made you so successful in this world, in this training space, maybe more so than others?
One thing that I will tell you is that as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, as someone that understands education, and remember, in the previous, I think I had talked about working with middle, high school, and college students, and doing the Sally Mae fund, paying for a college bus tour. I traveled cross country doing workshops on planning, preparing, and paying for college, and I had to hone in on my craft and realizing that I could stand in front of an audience and speak all day long, but when was I going to invite someone into the conversation? So what happens with a lot of programs in this day and age, you have a lot of people that come in and give a lecture because they want to come in and highlight how amazing they are. But at what point are you going to invite the business owners to actually talk about their need? What is it that they need? Where are their challenges? So whenever we design a curriculum, it's always about getting the conversation started. So there are a lot of business owners that are out there that they've been to every single program out there that's been created because they don't want to miss out on anything. And that's okay. But I still think that business owners need to come in, take a class, absorb everything that they've learned, start implementing. And if they need to learn more, go out there. But you can't come in and be and try to go everywhere, because at what point are you going to scale your business if you're going to every single workshop, every single training, everything that's being put out there? How are you going to scale your business? And a lot of times I sit back and I realize that the main reason why a lot of people do that, Stephanie, is really simple. Entrepreneurs battle loneliness. Being an entrepreneur is a lonely journey, and we want to be able to connect with other like-minded people. And if you're not an entrepreneur, and if you don't have skin in the game every day, and you're putting programming together, you know what? That's awesome. That's great. But we think differently. We process things differently. And we want to be able to come in and share and let people know what it is that we need. It's not coming in and creating a program to come in and say, hey, I'm meeting my goals. Hey, I'm checking the box. It's about coming in and having real impact. And I think that any program that really wants to have a type of impact, you definitely need to hear what the participants need, because entrepreneur is something that's ingrained in a lot of us. And we just need someone to guide us to take us to the next level.
So what do you think a business owner should look for in a program? I know for me, I'll own, when I first started, I was one of those folks. I'd hop in everything everybody recommended. I don't know that I walked away with, I walked away with something from every one of them. Was it something I maybe couldn't have figured out for myself or learn in another program? Absolutely. So I had to start to narrow down and be a little bit more selective as to what I needed. How would you recommend a person to get what they need, identify that training program, and then maybe get their socialization another way?
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to, what are your specific needs? Is your specific need to do business with the federal government? So one of the programs that I taught that you were part of in it was a good program, by the way. Huh?
I was saying it's a good program, by the way.
And when did you graduate? 2021.
Was it 2021?
2021. So you were the last graduate of the SBA emerging programs, the way that it was actually launched in 2008. Since then, there's a new Reimagine program, but that program that you came in, the reason why you came in, because it was focused on government contracting. That was a specialty. We were still going to come in and teach you the aspect of everything, but we focus on what it is that you need to do business with the federal government. Now, that's one of the key things that you have to look at. If there's a program out there that you want to do business with the federal government, then that's something that you need to look at right now, because there's programs there. If you're looking to come in and get your business started, then you need to come in and focus on what is it that you need to do. There's a lot of programs there that start off, that start actually with the basics. Now, there's other businesses that are there trying to assist and help scale. And listen, I've worked with every program here in South Florida, or the majority of them. So I can tell you where to go, where not to go. I'm not going to get into specifics about promoting any one of them. And if you have questions, you know what, offline, you can call me and I will tell you where you should go and shouldn't go, because I'm very candid like that. But I think that the main thing is, and I think that the main thing is that right now, as business owners, we have to be very intentional with our time. So in taking a class, we have to come in and not be moved by every shiny object. We have to be very intentional with the things that we do and how do we actually move forward. One of the programs, and a shameless plug-in, that I actually am involved in, and I've been involved in since day one, has been the Miami Bayside Foundation. And the Miami Bayside Foundation, they have their programming that they've been doing in English and in Spanish, their SBT program, and they've been doing it in English and Spanish. And in 2020, we actually integrated the implementation. So a lot of the businesses that come in and participate, whether it was the digital marketing, that's how we launched, they got implementation dollars. But the implementation dollars was to come in and work with them. It wasn't money that was given to them. It was money that was paid to actual business owners to come in and mentor and guide. And if it was to build a website, if it was to do social media, or help them with email marketing or writing their content. And I will tell you one thing, that a lot of the actual businesses that help these other businesses scale and grow were SBA Emerging Leaders alumni from the moment that I was teaching it to 2016, because I sit back and I realize that program wise, if you're going to go to a program, you need to come in and have someone teach you that's an actual business owners, because business owners, we think differently, we process, and that's not taking anything away from anybody else. It's just the aspect of coming in and that someone that's going to give you 100%. So once you do find that program, you go in, you participate, you actually learn from it, but then come in and take time to breathe. If you're not implementing the program and you're going from one program to the next, then you're doing yourself a disservice. But there are some great programs out there that I encourage people to participate in, but definitely you need to be part of the dialogue and the conversation. And the biggest mistake that I've seen a lot of entities do is that they're talking to the participants, the business owners, instead of bringing them into the conversation.
So, okay, so what am I trying to say? Have you noticed? Okay, so since our last conversation 3 years ago, of course, I was smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Have you noticed the change in the ecosystem? That's both with regards to the businesses and how they're operating, as well as the training programs that are out there. And if so, what?
Well, I think that one of the key things that what COVID taught us is that they came up with a lot of money. They came up with a lot of money for technical assistance for everybody and their mother. You know what? So a lot of organizations, a lot of government agencies, they just had money to give. So what's happening is in this ecosystem in South Florida, we definitely have to come in and realize, what do the businesses actually need? Right. When in the past, SCORE was doing great workshops. We were doing some great work, SCORE, Miami-Dade. And we had people that they sent, our organizations were sending people to SCORE, okay? That they weren't in the technical assistance. They were just looking at the importance of SCORE, and this was a mutual relationship, and everybody evolves, and it's okay, because I think that that's important, that organizations evolve and they start offering their own programming and their own curriculum, and that's great. But I sit back and I realize that in 2020, everybody got into the technical assistance. Everybody. Yeah. Everybody started coming in and designing their own programs and putting their own programs together, instead of coming in and partnering with actual organizations. That they were all doing that they were coming in and already doing a great job of teaching curriculum and putting together. So it was more like, okay, so what do we do with this? How do we come in and create something? And I worked with a lot of organizations that we put some great curriculum together. We put some great programming together. But I think that one of the key things that we have to look at in South Florida is that a lot of business owners will come in and work with everybody, because they're trying to figure out who they can work with, what to do. And guess what? Not one organization here owns claim to anybody. No business here. The success of the businesses here should be shared. And that's the ecosystem that we need to build here, that it's, different organizations working towards the goal of the businesses that need help, that need guidance. And I think that if we would come in and just join forces, then South Florida would be a force to be reckoned with, especially with the amount of entrepreneurs that we have here. And it's not a competition to come in and say, oh, well, I'm better than you, I'm better than that. Listen, I welcome competition, because I think the competition is needed. But the one thing that nobody can come in and compete is with me and my persona, my personality, because at the end of the day, we're all individuals. The same way that I can't come in and compete with someone else's personality and knowledge and so forth. But I will tell you that in the past, I've had people come into the programs that I've developed and put together, and they come in to try to see what they can take, what they can actually pick for themselves, because they're not creative, because they're not business owners. They're just repeating a lot of things that they see out there. And my thing is, if you want to know what it is that I do, ask me. You can come in and duplicate it, but you can't duplicate the aspect of a person, a personality.
Right.
And I think that to your testament and what we've talked about, Stephanie, we've been friends for how long?
Yeah.
And it continues to expand and grow. But I'm like that with a lot of the businesses that I work with, because I've seen that we have so much to give in South Florida, but we definitely need to come in and unite as an ecosystem to ensure that everybody succeeds, and stop trying to jockey against one another to come in and say, well, I do it better, but I do it better, but I do it better, because we've got money that we need to spend. I think we need to be very intentional with that, because at the end of the day, who needs help and assistance? The business owners. Who's saturating the economy? The business owners. Who's creating jobs? The business owners. And they, as I said earlier, are the heroes. So we definitely need to come in and join forces to ensure the success of the entrepreneurs in South Florida.
Well, I think the challenge is, and I'll put my little 2 cents in here. I think the challenge is a lot of times when you're dealing with agencies and entities that are vying for the same dollars, that's where the real competition comes in. How do I, set myself apart, or how do I keep my money flowing? To be real honest with you. So until we can get sort of to an equal playing field, people have a hard time partnering. Because it might affect my money, if I'm to be real honest with you. But what I will say, after the pandemic, I've noticed a little different. It's a different conversation. Like before the pandemic, everything was very formulaic. Everything that was being offered was like a model. It's very cookie cutter. You're going to learn the exact same thing in every one of those programs. Now I think that I will honestly say, I think there are now some opened minds to the idea that businesses need different things. They're at different levels. Sometimes it's just flat out capital. Like, what is it we need to really invest into these businesses? That's not just sort of a formulaic workshop, but definitely going to be information they can go back and implement, that kind of thing. So I'm proud to see that. And there's definitely a lot more conversation about scale up in this market. That was not, there was a lot of conversation around startup before the pandemic, but we had not heard scale up until we got into the pandemic. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
you said a couple of times, business owners think differently. What is business think? Tell me what you mean by that. I know, but I want them to know.
No, but if you start process, and listen, I agree with what you said about the aspect of this is my money, I'm not going to partner. But people don't understand that if you partner, you can get more money and do more things, collectively. So the business owner, we think differently, because a lot of us have a hustle mindset. Mm-hmm. We use our talent to make money. The moment that we come in and we have that hustle mindset, now we eventually start evolving, and then we go from the hustle mindset to the startup. And then from the startup to the scale up, and then from the scale up to the established business. Mm-hmm. And then everybody keeps building until they build the empire that they want. I never wanted to build an empire, but I sit back and I realized that as a business owner, I don't want to come in and be bombarded with so much information. I want you to give me, the cliff notes.
What I need.
I am not looking to get a master's. I am not looking to come in and get a master's in entrepreneurship. I am looking to come in and get enough knowledge to come in and help my business go to the next level. And I'm not knocking anybody that's going out there and doing that. Kudos to you, because I believe in education and information. But I sit back and I look at, when you go and you navigate a government website, why is the information so convoluted? Mm-hmm. When you go and you're trying to get a certification, why is it so convoluted? When you come in and you're trying to get a permit, why is it so convoluted? When you're trying to come in and get help, why is it so convoluted? And why do we come in and make things to where sometimes people don't want to do it because the information isn't simplified? Now, mind you, there's a lot of amazing people that work that they have gone above and beyond to assist and help, and kudos to them. But I think that that's one of the key things as business owners, is that mindset is that this is mine. This is where I'm going to come in and work. I'm not going to work for someone else. I can't work for someone else because I don't think like they do. And if I'm going to use my God-given talents to make money for someone else, I'm going to use it for myself. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that as business owners, we also see the value of relationships. aspect of understanding what the relationships are. And one thing that I say to a lot of the business owners that I work with is pay it forward. If you come in and you find something that has opened up doors for you, give back, share it with someone, and make sure that you are actually empowering them. Because I think that that's one of the key things, Stephanie. I think that for us, you know, we come in, and when you find a nugget of something, people share with one another. I know that I had a couple of students that they did their pitches, and I had someone that actually won one of the grants that were being given. So I said to them, hey, I've got so-and-so that won, and they automatically asked me for help, and I put them together, and we had a meeting. And it was coming in and making sure that you facilitate that, because not everything is a competition. It's keeping in mind that today Stephanie wins and Orlando doesn't win. But tomorrow Orlando wins and Stephanie doesn't bring. But Orlando and Stephanie are working together, because it's all about coming in and understanding that there's trust there, that I trust you, you trust me, and you're going to submit a proposal with me and you're taking the lead. But then Orlando's going to submit a proposal with you and I'm going to take the lead. But we trust one another because we know that at the end of the day, it's that camaraderie. And I think that that's what brings us together as business owners, that we have to create that camaraderie, because there's great resources out there. There's a lot of organizations that are doing amazing things, you know, to ensure the success of the business owners. But the one thing that I would always ask, and I always encourage them, is talk to the business owners and ask us, what is it that we need? What is it that we need more of, as opposed to creating something because you think that that's what we need. And in actuality, that's not what we need. And I believe that the more that we come in and start building these bridges, it's going to be amazing. And Miami is going to be, you know, listen, Miami is going to be a force to be reckoned with,
right?
Because everybody wants to come to Miami. Everybody wants to do business here. You know what? We've got South Central America. We've got the world at our fingertips. And I think that this is one of the key things that a lot of the leadership in Miami needs to come together to ensure that we actually are doing the right thing by way of the business owners. Because we've done something that a lot of people can't do. We took the risk, not focusing on the risk, but focusing on the reward, that our businesses were going to go to the next level. There's a lot of people that are getting a weekly or biweekly paycheck that they can't do what we do.
Right.
And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, because everybody thinks differently. Right. But this is where we actually have to come in and understand that there's people that, there's people that I know that they work at a full-time job, and they've got a side gig, a side hustle, that they're waiting for that to blow up so that they can quit their job and dedicate their time to it. Then you have some people that actually, you know, have that full-time gig. But I think that we all think the same in that aspect. And I do believe that where I've seen success with a lot of businesses is understanding that you have to stay motivated, you have to stay encouraged, but you have to connect to the right people.
Now, you and I have had a conversation, and, you know, this is where I think, you know, his mentorship has definitely been guided. I think I called you up one day and was like, can I take you to lunch? I need to have a conversation about what I'm doing with my business. It was a great conversation, because you were very candid about the direction that you felt that I should go. And I embarked upon that immediately. I will say it has been a challenge. It has been scary, but it was something that was definitely I needed to hear. So a business owner comes to you today and says, I need a pivot. You know, what might be the very first suggestion you might give them?
Sit back, put your seatbelt on, and get ready. Get ready.
and I will attest to that, because when he started telling me, I was like, I don't think I want to hear this. I didn't call him for that.
But think about it. Listen, you're talented, you're competent, you're capable. And I think that sometimes, and I remember the conversation that we had. And I still remember what we talked about. I'm not going to repeat it here because it's nobody's business. But I think that that's one of the key things. What do you want to do? And how can you come in and shift and change what you're doing? A lot of people. So when COVID hit, one of the things that I did was that I started putting together workshops. And the workshops were on the PPP and the idle loan. And I came in, and the reason why I did that was I wasn't charging. I did it initially for the emerging leaders because I sat back and I realized I don't want anybody to close their business because we don't know how long this is going to last. So we sat down and I started working with Senan, Garcia, Raju Mohandas, and Jonelle Hines with the SBA. And we came in and we started doing workshops. And they were just workshops on the PPP and the idle loan. And the reason why we did that, because I wanted to ensure that every business survived the pandemic. But I was also very candid with a lot of businesses coming in and talking to them about pivoting and how are you going to shift and how are you going to change and what do you have to do. And I had conversations with business owners that I encouraged them not to take out the PPP because I said it's a loan and you are in the actual tourism. You're going to borrow or you're going to turn that into what? So look at the idle loan, look at the interest rate, look at what it is that you're doing. Don't get yourself in trouble because if right now you need to take out some money, then look at the idle loan to survive what it is that you're going through. Do you have employees in the office? Then come in and calculate. So at the end of the day, conversationally, I had to have some tough conversations with a lot of businesses, and it hasn't changed much with businesses that have to pivot right now because a lot of times we have employees that aren't coming to work. We have actual staff. We have products or services that aren't moving. But I think that if we have a conversation and we have a dialogue that comes in and makes sense, because I'm going to start throwing things at you, but I want it to make sense to you because I can come in and see, what you can do and where you're at. But remember, I threw a lot of stuff at you, right, Stephanie, and it just had to make sense the way that you process and the way that you think, because we all think differently. So when a lot of businesses come to me, Orlando, what do you think? So do you want my honest opinion? And this is where we come in, but I don't leave people high and dry. And I come in and help, because let's create a game plan that's going to keep you in business. Because I know that for me, I can't go back to a 9-to-5. I can't work with other people because at the end of the day, let me rephrase that. I can work with everybody, but I can't work with certain people that are coming in and making things harder than they have to make it.
So what if there is a business that really you're having to come into Jesus about, you need to close your doors? Right here on this business, I spoke to a woman who had to close her doors during the pandemic. It was, she said it was lethargic at the time, but it really impacted me because that's a heck of a decision to have to make. What would you encourage them to look at to make that decision? When should you pull the plug, and what would you say to them about pulling the plug and the emotional pivot? That's an automatic feeling of failure. How do you get beyond that?
Yeah, well, I think that's the hardest thing when you actually have to come to the realization that it's just not working. That what I'm doing right now, it's not working. I'm not achieving any level of success. And I saw a lot of businesses that were devastated, that they had to close down. I know a lot of businesses that my heart goes out to them, that I've had conversations with them, that we've had dialogues and we've tried everything imaginable to assist and help them. But I think that that's one of the hardest things. It's coming in and saying, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I think that we all as business owners have come to that a point at some point, because I wanted to throw in the towel. And we've talked about like, I'm done. You know what? I can't, because you come in and you submit proposals that people are going to come in and say, hey, we want to work with you. But then you find out that proposal that you submitted was given to somebody else because they knew that person and they wanted that person to get it. So I know all of that. And I understand, but I still think that the resilience that we have is understanding that failure doesn't mean, or closing doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that chapter in your life, has closed and you're ready to create something else. And I know that for me, I've sat back and I've looked at that. I've seen businesses right now that they were surviving barely. But I do believe that conversationally, as we started talking and we started sharing, I realized that a lot of businesses during that time, I wasn't calling businesses to find out how their business was doing. I was calling businesses to find out how they were doing. I was calling businesses to see what they needed, how their family was, what was their well-being, because it was making sure that mentally they were doing okay, that mentally that they were fine, because our business is our baby. This is what we created, and we see this, and it's almost like your kid graduating and going away to college, that you have to come in and let them go. There are some businesses that you have to do that, but it doesn't mean that your journey is over. It just means that now you're going to come in and start tapping into what you wanted to do, what you wanted to create, and having some of those conversations. You mourn the loss of a business, but it doesn't mean that that's the end of it. It just means that now we have to come in and grasp some new ideas, some new opportunities, because every business has to evolve, no matter if there was a pandemic or there wasn't, because a lot of our clients will evolve, and we need to make sure that we're at the forefront.
Is every bit we talk about startups here. This is one of the startup capitals in the world. Have you ever talked to a business where you felt like what they were starting was not going to be successful? And how did you handle that?
I did. I've had people come in, and when they give me their ideas, and I never say no. I will never come in and be like, oh, it's like, you need to go back to the drawing board. Yeah, that's horrible. You want to do what? And I did. I had someone that they came to me, and they had an idea for a business that unfortunately they were not going to do anything with that. It wasn't. But I went in and I walked them through, because this was someone that wanted to give back. They initially didn't want to share their idea because they didn't want someone to steal it. But once they had the conversation, because they were willing to be candid with me, I was willing to be candid with them. And the one thing that I will tell you is that I said, you know what, this is where I believe that your passion lies. Your focus on the community, your focus on the youth. So instead of creating a business, why don't you come in and create programming? Why don't you come in and start looking at what it is that you can create when it requires to get youth out of their house, to get them away from the TV, to get them away from, their electronics. So come in and create things. And that was their biggest aha moment, because they thought that they needed a location. They thought that they needed a space, not realizing that there were so many spaces that they can work in. But if they came in and they implemented what they had designed, that's where the true nature of their business lied. And I think that it's coming in and seeing that aha moment, that they realize that they're still going to do what they wanted to do. But now the exciting part was, that it wasn't in one place, but that they can go all over the place. And then this opened up doors for them to realize that they could come in and take this, statewide, national, international. And I think that sometimes that's what we need to think about and have those conversations. And that's why when I shared with you about some of the training and some of the programming here, this is where I think that we need to have the businesses come in and be able to talk and share and invite them to the conversation, because I've learned a lot of what I learned also from other business owners. So whenever I facilitate, that is the one thing that I will tell you that I loved about the SBA Emerging Leaders Program, that they actually were using. They were using the curriculum from Interrise, the Streetwise MBA, and they're based out of Boston. But that curriculum allowed us to come in and facilitate. We weren't coming in and controlling the conversation, because the conversation was being directed by the business owners, that they were learning from one another. We were going into breakout rooms. And I know that in your case, we have breakout rooms,
virtually. We were the only virtual class.
But imagine coming in and learning from those businesses. And then we came in and we created the CEO groups, that you would actually have other businesses that you were assigned to, that you would meet on the off days or the off weeks that we didn't have class. But I think that that's where I saw the success of the actual program, but it was in the dialogue and the conversation of where people come in and listen. I've seen where the value comes in, that we learn from one another. because it makes it easier. Now, I have seen people that come in and say, well, I'm not going to help you because nobody helped me, because I'm not going to do it. And that's okay. If someone doesn't want to help you, go to the next person.
Right.
But then when that person helps you, pay them forward. But I do believe that a lot of business owners, they just need an outlet to communicate and to talk to and get to know other business owners, so that then they can go after opportunities, because they realize that they share the same mission, the same vision, and the same values. And I think that that's where the real success comes in, for the purpose of doing the things that you do, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
So let's end on a good note here, a positive note of how many businesses do you think you've helped? And is there one you can think of that you are most proud of? And you don't have to throw out their name, but just kind of the evolution of their story.
Listen, I've helped so many businesses, but I think that they're all my favorites. I can't come in because right now, because right now I can come in and say, you know what? You're my favorite. Don't tell anybody. But you know that you're my favorite. And Karen Vieira knows that she's my favorite. And Raju Mohandas knows that he's my favorite. And Senan Garcia and Tasha, and Macarena and Daniel and and Sam and and I could keep talking about Vicky, and I can say all these names out there from all of these businesses. Michelle, and listen, I remember people. Elizabeth, there's so many businesses, because I've seen businesses from technology to marketing, to actually coming in and doing, logistics, to construction. There's so many businesses out there. But the one thing that these businesses know, that I want them to be successful, but they have to know also that I love them as a person and as an individual.
Right. That
I think that that's where you connect with them, because I want you to be successful. Before this, you and I were talking about, well, how do we come in and take this with what you're doing, Stephanie, to another level? Right. Because this is important to you. You're important to me. So if you're important to me, I have to make sure that I help you and take you to the next level. And I connect with a lot of business owners, and I've worked with a lot of organizations here. And I will tell you, when I come in and I see the things that we've done here, it's been amazing, because it's all about the business owners. It's all about making sure that if they're happy, if they're content with where they're at, and I played a little role or a small role in that, or that they can come in and call me out of the blue, like you, or set time, to communicate. I think that it matters, because I've always said this. What I want my legacy to be is that I didn't hoard any information, that I gave it freely, because I'm not going to be able to take it with me. And a lot of people want to hoard information and put a price tag on it and say, hey, I will help you, but this is what it's going to cost you. Yeah. And I think that when I realized the power of words and the power of actually encouraging a lot of business owners, I think that the next time you have people on your show, because it's funny, because I know a lot of people that come on your show, and I've worked and people, when I actually started sharing with it, I love Stephanie. I love Stephanie. And that makes me happy, because Stephanie is part of my eco system, that you are part of the connections of the other people that we worked with, and people from your cohort, that you work with, from Fernando to Nexi, to Sam, to Teresa, put
all of them on the show, by the way.
Yeah, Calvera, we can come in, and I think that that's one of the key things. So I was remembering that in 2000, and I think it was 21, or it may have been
20, I think.
Yeah.
Because remember, we had to go for a while and wait to be approved.
Yeah. So 2 years. So I call you and everyone else the 2-year cohort. Because we didn't know what was going to happen, and we were just getting together, and we were just coming in and just talking and having conversation. And then when the applications came in, you came in. But I remember that your cohort had just finished in 2021, and I had dialogue and conversation. So I had to set up a meeting for the alumni. And I think it was I got a call on Friday from Enterprise, and they said, "Hey, Orlando, we would love to come in and we'll be in Miami." So that was on a Friday, and I started calling on Monday, and by Wednesday we had 15 people.
Right.
We went, and we had a nice get together, because I think that's where I sit back and realize that the power of connecting people. And that's one of the key things that I encourage all businesses. Listen, the emerging leaders from the SBA, their cohort, when they started in here in South Florida in 2014, I got to beat the people from 2014, 15, even though I took it over in 2016. And up until last year, it was reimagined. So it's a totally different program. But I had 3 cohorts. I had Miami, I had Broward, and I also had Puerto Rico. And the essence of understanding that, I started getting those people connected, because even though it was a different program, you know what? The one common denominator was me. And understanding that they needed to connect with one another to learn, to empower one another, because that's where they're going to succeed and go to the next level. And even though I'm not going to be involved with the cohort this year, it doesn't mean that the connections that we made are not going to be maintained. Right. You know what? We're going to help, because I have people. Listen, I'm working with the Puerto Rico cohort to do some things there, and there's people there working with some of the other cohorts, and I've worked with other cohorts, you know what, in other locations. But I think it's coming in and understanding that what actually ties us together wasn't necessarily the cohort. It was not necessarily the class. It was that we all shared the same mission and vision. Correct. And the value was to make sure that we all scaled and growed, unified, but that we would celebrate each other's successes. So I think that's one of the key things that I look at, and I call people. I think that that's where we've made a difference, that it's not just ushering people to come in and meet that box and say, "Hey, check, I got you." No. Right. It's understanding that these are real people, and building relationships, and understanding that when they celebrate a birthday, when they actually have a death in their family, or when they have to actually pivot, that there's someone there that's looking after their well-being, and that they don't have to navigate this by themselves. That's where I think that has kept us unified, and will continue to keep us unified from here to the next. Listen, next year, I want to nominate, you know what, some of the actual alumni from the program that are working with the Raju. Raju, a lot of us know that he's done a lot of great work within South Florida and helping a lot of businesses, or Senan or Karen. You know what, there's so many people here that we can come in and nominate, that have participated, that are having real impact. And we don't want to nominate people just because, hey, we want an award. We definitely want to nominate people because they're having impact, and they're touching the lives of the actual entrepreneurs that need their help.
Well, how can we find you? I know I can find you just by picking up the phone and calling you, because, you know, I keep doing that on a regular basis. But that's neither here nor there. How would others find you?
Listen, for me, what's going to be easiest is if people reach out, they can find me on LinkedIn, Orlando Espinosa. My LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/IN/Orlando Espinosa. I'm on Twitter, Orlando in Miami. I also, my cell phone number, 305-609-1142. And that is right there. Yeah. Well, listen, it's 305-609-1142. Send me a text message, whatever it is that you, one thing I would say is that my phone does not ring if you're not in my contacts. You send me a text message, or you call me and you leave me a voicemail. Oh, look, my phone is ringing. If you leave me a voicemail, I will be more than happy to respond, because a lot of times people just want someone to answer a question.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that we're running up against the clock, and people don't have time to wait. And sometimes this is where people just need someone to answer. Next week, so next week, I'm actually going to be doing a couple of events. I'm going to come in and talk about, there's quite a few things that we're actually doing next week. I know that I'm going to be in the city of North Miami Beach. I'm going to be speaking there. I'm going to be doing something with the Florida Minority Supplier. We're going to do some stuff there at Nova on the 3rd and the 4th.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, then I will be doing something in the following week with the U.S. Patent and Trademark.
Okay.
So that's a webinar that we're going to be putting together, or they're already put it together. So we're going to be doing, I'm actually going to be teaching on the pitch, but we have quite a few participants there. And the goal is, and then we're going to be doing something, in Broward as well. So I stay active, making sure that we participate. I know that the SBDC on the 4th in the evening, they're actually going to have their award ceremony in the city of Doral. So there's a lot of great things happening next week. I know that next week also, the county, Lawanda, is doing some great things, with the entire week as well.
So share some of that stuff with us, especially the things that you're doing, and we'll share it with the audience, because I know, Just Talking Business is a bunch of entrepreneurs just trying to figure it out, like you said. So please share it, and we will definitely get it out. By the way, Janelle said her word for 2023 is opportunity. So we're going to have Janelle is with the SBA. So thank you for tuning in, Janelle, and thank you for sharing your word, because I do think that's been impactful for me, and I think it's nice to hear others do the same thing.
And that's great. And I will encourage, for those of you that are looking to do anything within the federal government, the one thing that I've always encouraged people to do is definitely look out there. So as I said, next week I'm going to be presenting at the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council. So they've got a great program there, and it's going to be hosted in Nova the 3rd and the 4th. They've got some great speakers. I'm actually going to talk about doing business with the federal, state, and government, and creating strategies. But it's going to be a great time to network, to communicate. I am doing something with Miami Bayside Foundation. Miami Bayside Foundation, they're wrapping up next week their pitches for the businesses as well. And they wrap up on the 4th. But I'll share a list of some of the things, because people always ask, when are you speaking next? What are you doing? So maybe one of the things that we put together in the future, Stephanie, is for a lot of your listeners, Just Talking Business. Maybe what we have is a get together and just a meet and greet, and we can come in and just have a conversation with them and open it up, and maybe just go and create, a Zoom or Teams or anything like that, and empower the businesses, because I think that's what a lot of people need. And that's what they want. It's someone that's
our call to action. That's what we owe. That's what we did once before, but I definitely have to do it again and reconnect folks and really kind of get them to come in and see where they might be able to get some support, even if they're just thinking about starting a business, Yeah,
it is. It's an idea, Orlando. So when I sit back and look at people paying an exuberant amount of money to have someone just start a business or get a business plan or do certain things, this is where I cringe, because I know that everybody has to eat, but make sure that you let the other people use money to eat as well.
Yeah.
Instead of coming in and taking everything. So I do believe in the power of relationships. And it's funny that, that Jonelle's word, when you look at opportunity, I think that's one of the best things that I can honestly say that I appreciate. And it's funny because I want to make sure that I say this, and I say this correctly, because I was thinking about something that I posted on my LinkedIn the other day. And it's actually one of the most important things that it says: choose people who will say your name in a room full of opportunities.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
So if you're partnering with anybody, make sure that they're the ones that are actually promoting you, because that's what you need. And I think that as the 2023 advocate for the SBA, it's about making sure that we continue empowering the small business community, because listen, the SBA has some amazing programs, from the 7J to the 7A to, the Hub Zone certification and the 8A. There's so many amazing opportunities there that it's just making sure that you tap into those resources,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I can't do it alone. And I know that the one thing that I've learned is that I need other people to take my business to the next level. So people like you and Jonelle, thank you for listening. You know what? It makes a difference in my business. So I just want to do the exact same thing in the business of others.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us again today. Don't be a stranger. We know we'll probably call you back again in another 3 years. Let's see how the beard is going, how the hair is going.
It is. And come in and say, hey, listen, you look younger. It's like, I don't age. I found the fountain of youth. You know what? When people come in and ask, where's the fountain of youth? I said, it's actually in Miami. It's not in St. Augustine. It's in Miami.
It is. Because we're going to avoid old age at all costs.
That's it. Old. No, old is just a state of mind. I'm not old. I'm getting younger. You know, even though I see this little wrinkle right here, I'm like, well, I didn't see that yesterday. But it's distinguished.
Doing all kind of stuff to cover that kind of stuff up.
It's like you're coming in and it's like, let me get some tape and let me tape this back here. You know?
That's a whole nother show.
Exactly. It's like how to stay a young entrepreneur. hey.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So Stephanie, we'll be in contact, and everybody that, you know what, the people that are texting, you know what, I'll definitely communicate with you tomorrow. But for right now, Orlando is done. I don't know if you have any last thing that you wanted to ask, Stephanie. I know we're down to the count.
No, thank you. But I'll be calling you because I need you.
I know. And you know that I'm here. All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank you too for joining us today. Again, he is always a wealth of information and almost always so much fun to talk to. And he means it. When you call him, he will answer. I'm a testament to that. So thank you again, Orlando. We will be back here next week on Thursday next week, talking to another business owner who is supporting business owners. So we hope you'll tune in. We'll let you know when it's going to happen. And thank you so much. Please check us out again soon. Have a great day.